Between Europe and Asia, economic dialogue, humanitarian missions, multi-vector operating and the search for compromises in the world arena. How else does Kazakhstan participate in the development of the modern world? For more details, watch the program Kazakhstan International Vectors. Today you will find out what unique simulators are available to the cadets of the Kazakhstan Maritime Academy, why are managers on professional orientation needed in the Kazakhstan labor market, and what specialties are the most popular in the world. Labor is an appropriate, conscious activity of a person aimed at satisfying the needs of the individual and society. Basics of labor and labor relations appeared almost simultaneously with the society itself. Back then, the basis of human activity was physical labor, hunting, gathering and farming. With the economic development of states, any person's labor activity becomes impossible without mental expenses. The Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci wrote, "There is no such human activity from which the share of mental labor could be completely excluded. Without it, it is impossible to separate Homo faber from Homo sapiens." Today, the working life is a way of existence and self-realization of a person as a social subject. The economically active population is the support of any state, and the labor market is a fundamental part of the economic security of any country. In 2012, the Kazakh British Technical University in Almaty signed an agreement with STC Group company from the Netherlands on the opening of the Kazakhstan Maritime Academy. Its managing director, Dmitry Kovtunenko, is a former officer of the Royal Navy of the Netherlands. He has been leading the academy since the opening. He says that in just 5 years, the academy has achieved great results. Since 2016, we were able to form a staff of 4 Kazakhstani teachers. These are 2 senior lecturers and 2 lecturers who currently conduct classes in the first and second years. In other words, we fully provide the first and second courses, in fact, except for the last module, and Dutch teachers currently only come for the 4th year. This is a more in-depth, more complicated program. This is already a managerial level, according to the international convention, and therefore we are still using the expertise of our Dutch partners there. With the help of our Dutch partners, we have chosen proper simulators. We have installed them here back in 2013. So now we have a whole set of simulators. Further, they also advised on the multifunctional complex that we've built in the Park of Innovation Technologies called Alatau. It is a unique marine engine compartment with a live engine, with all components where students can see the ship's engine as a whole. They train to service it and to work out different regular and extraordinary situations using it. During the training, cadets pass various subjects – project management, maritime law, charter transportation, etc. The curriculum is based on the International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping of Seafarers. Now representatives of the Academy help the government of Kazakhstan to apply to become members of the so-called white list of countries where the process of education, certification and regulation of the industry meets international requirements. Our students who will graduate here will receive diplomas, their professional certificates of competency, which will be recognized in other states, so they will be able to work not only here but also abroad. And this is not necessarily an outflow of our human resources. This is an opportunity for future professionals to expand their career horizons. All devices on the shipboard operate either electromechanically or pneumatically or hydraulically. For ship engineers, basic skills in these areas are very important. Practical classes in these specialties are held in the training laboratories of the Kazakhstan Maritime Academy. Nikolai is one of our instructors, lecturers on ship engineering. He can now demonstrate how our basic complex called hydraulic exercise can be performed. At first sight, this looks very simple, but what do we do for our students? The student gets the task to build this complex on this board him or herself. That is, the student needs to select proper components, correctly connect the components and turn everything on. If the process goes wrong, the system will not work. Here is a good example of practicing practical skills.
Вот вам наглядный пример отработки практических навыков.
Marine education is a practical education. As the cadets' skills develop, the exercises become more complex. Self-management, critical thinking and other skills that are so necessary for modern professionals lie at the core of the Academy's education system.
Не участвуя в процессе корректировки учебных планов, программ, тренингов, образования, индустрия лимитирует себя же, не нас.
Without participating in the process of adjusting curricula, programs, trainings, education, the industry limits itself, not us, but itself in the potential that they receive for the company. That is, if you want to see an X person with the following skills, with the following competencies, with the following professional knowledge, you should take an active role in adjusting curricula, making changes, additions and setting your requirements, whatever you want to see. We need to move away from the paradigm where we try to feed students with knowledge. This does not work now and it will never work in future. We want to see a person who can think critically. We want to see a person who is able to make some decisions, who is in a position to solve problems and bring some maybe a piece of innovation, a piece of something new to the company.
Какую-то, может быть, частичку инновации, либо частичку нового какого-то в компанию.
With the improvement of the industry and the construction of new vessels, the process of working on a ship becomes more and more automated. However, the responsibility is still borne by the experts themselves. That is why knowledge in the field of electrical engineering is important for seafarers. In the last 10 to 15 years, a separate profession of electromechanics has appeared on the shipboard. We have purchased this installation and installed it here especially to develop certain skills in our students and for the representatives of local shipping companies. It is not a mock-up model, but an active electrical substation that operates, roughly speaking, 380 volts, but simulates the work process completely for 6.6 kilovolts. Students start here with theory, only then they come to practice and specifically implement here all the movements that would be carried out by a real electrician working at the electrical station.
Работая на подстанции.
All ships have air conditioning. In this laboratory, future seamen are just practicing skills in cooling technologies. This large simulator allows programming up to 30 different errors so that students in the process of practicing find the cause of a particular failure and eliminate it.
Коль,
Nikolai, we need to prepare this installation for classes, that is, you will need to check the pressure in the sensors first and secondly, check the presence of gas in the unit. Okay. One of the factors ensuring the economic security of any state is the formation of the labor market. Kazakhstan has its own peculiarities and tendencies in this respect. Huge territory, heterogeneity of economic structure, uneven distribution of population and a number of other factors characterize the labor market in the country by differentiation in its development in regions and industries. In other words, the needs and demands of the labor market in Kazakhstan vary depending on the region. In Kazakhstan, the Atirau, Mangistau, West Kazakhstan, Aktobe and Kizilorda regions belong to the oil and gas district. Kostanay region in the north and Jambul region with the South Kazakhstan region in the south belong to the agrarian industrial one. Almaty region, North Kazakhstan region and Akmola region form an agricultural district. Pavlodar, East Kazakhstan and Karaganda regions the industrial one. Experts attribute the cities of Almaty and Astana to consumer centers. In accordance with the production orientation of a region, there is a need for professional staff. Different educational institutions in the country are involved in their education. So, according to data at the end of 2016, there are 817 organizations of technical and vocational education in Kazakhstan and 130 higher educational institutions. In general, the issue of the development and reform of education, taking into account the best world practices for the Republic, is in the first place. At the same time, according to experts, if there are enough lawyers, economists and marketers in the country, then in the professionals of the working specialty there is still an acute shortage.
Поэтому сегодня как беда всех.
Therefore, today the trouble of all production factories is, first of all, the need in brains. We need engineers right now. Secondly, professional workers are desperately needed. Unfortunately, today the issue with professional workers is more complicated. Their numbers are getting smaller because it is not very prestige to work in the factories anymore, and it is is not a secret. Therefore, let's say today, and everyone understands this perfectly, as they say, the army keeps on surgeons, factories keep on masters. Masters are those people who direct regular workers.
которые руководят непосредственно теми рабочими.
Today, Kazakhstani production facilities have a big competition. This is Russia with its historical supplies of the equipment and China with rapidly growing production. In order for Kazakhstan to be able to produce its own products qualitatively and quickly, it is necessary to solve the problem with working force, as today the personnel really decides everything.
Но главная идеология следующая. Вот государство, что, естественно, правильно делает, оно
But
беспокоится.
the main ideology is the following. The state naturally worries about the Kazakhstani content. And this is correct to my mind. The expression local content is quite relevant today. All large companies create offices or even departments in their divisions that are engaged in increasing the Kazakh content. This is the first. So, development of machine building in Kazakhstan is the first. Second, this is the reduction in the cost of acquiring similar equipment from far abroad. That is, we'd rather create jobs in Kazakhstan than jobs, say, in France. That's why there are two positive things I'm talking about. Creation of jobs in Kazakhstan and cost reduction of producing companies, oil, gas, uranium and so on.
Второе – это уменьшение затрат тех компаний, которые производят что-либо, нефть, газ, уран и так далее.
The contribution of business to education in Kazakhstan is also growing. The so-called dual model of education provides both theoretical training in vocational education organizations and practical at the enterprises. The Kazakh business has had an opportunity to really influence the policy of training personnel and thus to provide itself with more and more qualified specialists.
Мы всю жизнь всегда придерживались политики.
We have always adhered to the policy of helping youngsters to practice at our plant, naturally pursuing, so to speak, our own goals, to choose the most promising young people among them to work for us. And I have to give my due to educational institutions. I myself graduated from Almaty Polytechnic Institute long ago, and now people come to us who have finished our Almaty colleges and are well prepared. That is, they are people who can work in AutoCAD program, they have basic knowledge of technology, they speak a little bit of English, maybe they do not speak, but at least they understand. That is, today, as I told you before, we work according to international standards, and there are a lot of foreign companies among our customers, so the knowledge of English becomes very relevant.
Становится весьма актуальным.
Not so long ago, the Kazakhstani market has widened with such a specialty as a manager and professional orientation. These specialists help everyone – children and school children, students and adults – decide on the choice of profession. The age of clients of such centers vary from 3 to 63 years, while the main clients of such centers are either parents of young children who want to develop their natural talent from their earliest years, or school children who are about to decide on their future profession. Often adults come here to look for a new direction of business or a hobby that will bring maximum spiritual satisfaction. Specialists of the Center for Professional Orientation assure that their activities in many ways can determine the future of the Kazakhstani labor market.
Проблема в том, что наш рынок не знает, что у нас есть такие услуги. И причем не важно даже.
The problem is that our market does not know that we provide such services, and it does not matter even if they come to us or they come to another company or organization. It is important that people talk to such specialists so that there will be no further problems. And it works not only for this person, but it works for the whole society in which he or she lives, and for his or her family, and also for the state as a whole. If a person does not determine a profession in advance, he or she will not do that specialization. Most likely the person will either disaccustom or give up. Then his or her life will go somehow wrong, and it will affect not only him or her and the family, but also the labor market of the country, right? It's not just one person, it can be hundreds, thousands of people. If they all decided in advance, they understood what they want and how they want to develop, accordingly there would be no problems, neither in the university, nor in the workplace and so on. This over time should improve our overall statistics in the labor market and the level of happiness, I think. Therefore, in fact, this is a very global mission to which we aspire.
Статистику по рынку труда и в том числе по уровню счастья, мне так кажется. Поэтому на самом деле это очень глобальная миссия, к которой мы стремимся.
According to the forecasts of the EY consulting company, in 2017 in Germany, about 250,000 new jobs will be created. Thus, the number of working population in the country will approach the new record level of almost 44 million people. This data hides new opportunities for qualified specialists, including foreigners, experts say. The most promising at the German labor market are such working fields as science and research, healthcare, the media, telecommunications and information technology, as well as transport and logistics. The French labor market for the first 3 months of 2017 increased by almost 50,000 jobs. New working places were added to the private services sector and increased the total workforce in France to 16,200,000 people. This is the highest fixed level of the number of vacancies since the beginning of the global financial crisis in 2008. This year in Russia there is also an increase in the number of vacancies compared to 2016. 38% of employers plan to expand the staff against 12% the year before. Most of all, the Russian market needs responsible and motivated specialists with professional skills in related fields. Also, middle managers are in demand. In general, in 2017, worldwide, the highest demand as well as the highest increase in wages is observed in high-tech specialists. This is the developers of mobile applications, specialists in cybersecurity, and analysts with a technical background. This year was marked by the expansion of new forms of interaction between the employee and the employer. The number of companies using hiring temporary personnel has increased. The number of such vacancies only in Russia has increased by different estimates by 20 to 30%. The segment of distance work has expanded quite seriously. A list of activities where remote work is considered acceptable has been replenished by specialists from the banking sector, sales, IT and telecommunications workers, and administrative personnel. The pride of the Kazakhstan Maritime Academy is a full-issue naval bridge simulator. Here there are all those components that are present on the board of the real ship.
Здесь мы можем отрабатывать различные штатные и внештатные ситуации.
Here we can work out various regular and abnormal situations approximated to the maximum to reality. That is, here we can land a ship stranded, make a collision of ships, of course by mistake of the helmsman or by mistake of a watch officer, without looking at the map or looking through binoculars, without looking outside, any basic skills. This is working with electronic maps, working with the radar, direct control of the ship and so on. This is work with the communication system, that is the sea background system, the satellite communication system, with other ships, with services on the shore. We can work out critical situations if the ship is droning and needs help, that is, it's a whole game, roughly speaking.
Службами на берегу. Можем отрабатывать критические ситуации, если судно тонет, ему надо оказывать помощь, то есть это целая игра, грубо говоря.
This simulator is used to develop skills of human resources. On the board of any vessel there is nothing more important than the teamwork, says Dmitry. After all, according to statistics, 80% of shipwrecks and collisions occur due to the fault of the human factor. That is why the practice on such simulators, among other things, teaches cadets proper communications both between members of one crew and with other ships and coastal services. Virtual reality is the future of education, at least in such specialties, Dmitry believes. Today the Academy has far-reaching plans, the main one of which is to ensure the financial independence of the institution from sponsors, with the subsequent exit to full self-sufficiency.
Один из векторов развития
One of the vectors of our development on the way to self-sufficiency is the creation of master's programs. The second vector is a dense work with the industry. If we put the structure correctly, the shipping company participates in the selection of students from the very beginning of education. This is for them a contribution to the human resource, because this is the company's future asset. They invest in this person, they sponsor him or her, they pay us for education, and eventually they get the specialist they wanted to see. And in the future, he or she goes to work for this company. If all this is tied up with the shipping companies, the same person later comes to further training to us again.
повышение квалификации опять же к нам.
Kazakhstan intends to enter into top 30 most developed countries in the world. President Nursultan Nazarbayev instructed to transfer the economy of the country to new rails already by 2050. One of the fundamental principles here is sustainable development, green technologies, automation and robotization, and promotion of business startups. The country is already actively developing new high-tech industries, but it does not intend to abandon the old developments. And the fact that the economy of the state was built at all times, professional working force, is not the last in the priorities of the development of the Republic.